Hola amigos, it's Sam and welcome back to the channel. As the title suggests, today I'll be talking about the Leica M11-P. I know I'm kind of late to the party since this camera has been out for a little over a year now. However, I couldn't really find a video from the perspective of someone upgrading from an older M system like the M240 to the M11 and sharing their experience. So hopefully this video helps anyone considering an upgrade to the latest model. And was it worth it? And ultimately, am I happier with this new camera? Now, before I begin, I know the title sounds kind of like clickbait, but I'm being honest when I say that this will definitely be the last digital M I ever get. I understand that statements like this can be thrown around loosely sometimes, just like how we buy, sell, and dispose of material things, including digital cameras in this case. But after owning this M11-P for a year, it made me realize a lot of things. Now, I'm not saying I had some deep discovery or awakening, but it did make me question the need to acquire something new and why I even wanted it in the first place. I've owned a lot of cameras over the years, as well as guitars and amps. There's always this chase or dopamine rush when it comes to buying something new. And even though I collect a lot of these things, I do try my best not to accumulate more than I should, and try being the key word here. But for the last couple of years, I've followed the rule that when acquiring something new, something else has to go. So in order for me to purchase this camera, I knew I had to sell other cameras that actually brought me joy, meaning I was happy using them. But the urge I mentioned earlier got the best of me and made me want to upgrade to this camera. Now let's talk about the M11-P, and it is a beautiful camera as expected from Leica, and in terms of tech and features, it's actually quite powerful. I know some people still compare these cameras to other manufacturers and complain that for the price they lack features found in less expensive brands. Now, I think this argument is stale already, and I won't really get into it or try to justify it. It is what it is, and if you like a certain brand and can afford it, then this argument shouldn't even be an issue anymore, I think. My first digital M was the MP-240, and I really loved that camera. It really made me fall in love with the rangefinder system. And as I got older, I really wanted to carry less gear, for it to be smaller and more comfortable. So the M system felt like the perfect fit. Now, I'm not a professional photographer, but I do love taking photos and using my camera for travels. So I was always drawn to the system from day one. And if you're an M10 user, the changes between the last two models might not feel groundbreaking, as they look quite similar aesthetically. Most of the changes are really under the hood. But for me, coming from a much older MP-240, the differences were drastic. So I'll go over the aspects I really enjoyed after the upgrade. The body thickness has been reduced. The M11-P, like the M10, feels a lot more like my M3, which I really like. I think they have the same depth and width, which was a big plus for me. The size of the MP-240 didn't really bother me that much, especially after shooting with DSLRs for years. But this was a welcome change, and I also got the Leica hand grip, which actually made the handling of the camera so much better. The viewfinder is also much clearer, and the magnification changed to the standard 0.72 times, which gives you more room for wider lenses. The rangefinder patch is also clearer. But for the record, I really never had focusing issues with my MP-240. It always focused accurately unless it was user error, but it's nice that they improved it. The button layout is much cleaner. There are fewer buttons to press, but since I also own an SL2, this layout actually feels much more familiar to me. The menu system is also improved, again very similar to my SL2, making it easier to switch between the two cameras. The LCD screen is sharper, and the touchscreen function, though limited to only zooming in and out and selecting a focus point, is a nice addition. There's also a dedicated ISO dial on the top, reminiscent to the old film wind knob on the M3. My biggest complaint, I guess my only complaint is, and I know other people share this, is that the pull function feels a little too stiff. So it does take a little bit of pull to take it out, but it's not that bad. Instead, I wish they would have used a sort of a push-pull instead. I usually leave mine on manual mode and change my ISO with the custom thumb wheel on the back. Or even better, I treat this camera like a film camera and set the ISO based on the lighting conditions and adjust exposure by using shutter speed and the aperture. I'm happy they brought back the top function button, which was a wasted movie mode button on the M240, in my opinion. If you didn't shoot video, which I didn't with that camera, it really served no purpose since you couldn't assign it to any other function and you could only disable it in the menu system. So now I use this button for focus zoom while using the LCD screen. The M11P gets the stealthy blacked out look, so no red dot, and the elegant Leica script on the top plate. It also has 256 gigabyte of internal storage compared to the 64 gigabytes on the M11, which is quite nice. And Leica's new content credential feature for copyrighting your photos. And best of all, in my opinion, no more removable bottom plate, something that only made sense for nostalgia, not functionality in my opinion. And this new design is shared on all of the M11 variants. The battery is a little bit smaller and it drains a little bit faster than the M240s, which is kind of expected given the higher power output of this camera. I find that a single charge typically lasts about a day or so when using the rangefinder with minimal use of the LCD screen, which is actually not bad at all. Additionally, the new lever mechanism makes battery removal much easier, again similar to the SL2. Now the M11 has a 60 megapixel BSI CMOS sensor with the ability to switch between 60 megapixels, 36 or 18 without cropping or losing quality with some kind of internal magic. It's crazy that a camera this small can shoot medium format level resolution, and I really don't see myself ever outgrowing this sensor. And this is probably the biggest and most significant upgrade from the 24 megapixel sensor of the MP-240. Now I opted for the black chrome version because I prefer the look of the M cameras in black, especially if I'm going to get the P version. It's considerably lighter than my old M240. Obviously it's a much thinner camera, but Leica made the strange decision to use aluminum for the top plate instead of the classic brass that they've been using for all of these years. However, they kept the brass top on the silver model, so I honestly don't understand this decision unless it's a clever marketing move to create distinct differences and increase profits. I really don't understand. At the end of the day, I really don't care whether the top is brass or aluminum. I know for a fact that the aluminum top plate feels much lighter, and I consider that a real advantage. But why not just make both color options from the same aluminum material and be done with it? Again, I don't understand this logic, but I'll rather have the lighter weight and comfort over the added weight of the brass. Regarding the bugs and freeze-ups that plagued this camera upon its release, I did experience one instance where the camera froze on me. I had to perform a hard reboot by removing the battery. However, this only happened before Leica released several firmware updates to fix the situation. Once I updated mine, I never experienced that issue again, but I felt it was important to mention. Now the most important question, does it produce better images than my 24 megapixel MP-240? It's not a simple answer. The image quality on this camera is truly amazing. Even when using the 36 megapixel option, the colors are rich and the resolution provides plenty of room to work with. However, for someone like me who doesn't use cameras for work, the differences may not be so obvious. And that kind of brings me back to my main point. This is why the M11P is the last digital M I'll ever buy. At the end of the day, a great image, as cliche as it sounds, isn't about megapixels or tech specs. It's about the moment, the experience, and the inspiration. The best camera is the one that makes you want to go out there and shoot. Technology would always evolve. No matter how much we try to chase it, we'll never catch up to. So do I regret this purchase? It's complicated. The improvements are undeniable, but the soul of the camera, the joy of taking a photo, feels the same as any other Leica I've used. Some of my favorite photos were taken with the MP-240, and over time I'm sure I'll love the images of the M11P just as much. So in conclusion, I plan to use and cherish this camera for as long as possible. I'm getting older, and instead of chasing the next upgrade, I really want to focus on appreciating what I have now and get the best use of this camera for many years to come. If you enjoyed this video, please like and comment. I'd love to hear your thoughts. If you're an M11 user, please share your thoughts and opinions and your experiences. And I will see you on the next one. Cheers.